Bug Implementer.
Welcome back to this daily practice session where we are going to learn how to access node properties from other nodes. What I mean by that, we will clarify right now. Let's start. We have a scene this time with a lot of nested nodes. This is called the scene tree, and the scene tree is composed out of nodes, as you can see here. So those are basically all label nodes, but a scene tree can be composed out of every node you can basically add right here. And we need to understand that here, what is going on here is a parent-child relationship. So the nesting is called parent and child relationship, and we have a sibling relationship if they are on the same layer and not nested inside of each other. So we have parents, we have children, and we have siblings. Those are the three most important words you have to remember now, or we have to focus on now. So this node is the parent node of those two label nodes. From the perspective of this node right here, those two are the children of this parent node. It is also possible that a child node by itself can be a parent node. Out of the perspective of the label A node right here, the label A node itself is a parent and the label B node is its child. So this is a child of the label A node, and from the perspective of the label B node, label A is a parent node. So label A is basically a child and a parent. And we can go on and nest nodes inside of nodes, inside of nodes, inside of nodes. It's not the best practice to go ever deeper into this tree structure like here. It's, in my opinion, never a good idea because it gets messy really fast. But it's a great tool or a great way to organize your scene structure. So it's important to get used to this. So let's go down even more. Label C is the child of label B, and so label B is also a parent node. This is the parent, this is the child. Label C is a child and also a parent because it has a child. So label D is the child and label C is the parent. And in this case, label A and label Y are siblings because they live on the same layer and are nested inside of the node. So those are siblings. And the game we want to play now is we will add scripts, for example, to the node, scripts to the label D, and a script to the label Y, for example, and we will figure out how to access properties of those other nodes. So in the last few videos, we always had the case that we added the script exactly to the node where we wanted to print or change a property. But in real life, it's a common use case that your script will live on a totally different node and you still have to access the property of a, for example, child node or a sibling node or a parent node. And this is what we are going to do now. Long story short, let's dive right in to the explanation. Let's start with the node. We add a script to the node. Nothing new here. And now we will focus on just printing out property values. So the node does not have any properties like text or something like this. Only labels have the text property. And we are going to focus on printing out the text property. And we want to print, as a start, the text property of label A. The text property of label A is, by the way, just the letter A. We write the ready function. This is called once at the beginning, and we will write or prepare the print statement. And now, or I will delete this again. Now we need a syntax or some way to access this label A node. Godot has, or GDScript has something prepared for us. We use the $sign for this. The $sign means, hey, I want to access a node that is not attached to the script. In this case, I want to access the label A node, and therefore I write exactly the name label A. You get auto-completion right here, and you see how to access the other labels as well. But for now, just type label A. And now this means, okay, please go one step down into the tree and search for a node called label A. Exactly what we have put right in here, the text, the name of this label node. And now to access a property inside of this label node, we need the dot operator. So we need to say, I want to look inside of label A and I want to check for the property which is inside of this label node. We can check by clicking on it and hover over it. There we have the text property and I want to look inside of the text property. Now let's print this and check if I am lying to you. And indeed we get the text property of label A, which is just a capital A. So this is the syntax we have to get used to now, and we will practice this later. This is the syntax that says, please look one layer down and look for label A. Let's go even deeper into the nesting. So we can even reach label B from the node by going one step further down. We use this slash for every nesting step that we have here. We use one slash forward. We want to climb even further down the tree. So we use label A and then we use the slash to say go one layer down the tree, and we type the name of the label we want to access. In this case we only have label B right here, so we can access label B by typing label B. And now we have label B, and we can go on like this forever, as long as we have actual nodes right here. So label B. And now we have label C. This is how we can access the text property of label C, which is just a capital C. And if we want to change or access or print out the text property of label D, we just go down the tree, label D. And now we can run this and we see it's a capital D. So this is how we can access node properties from child nodes out of the perspective of a parent node. So when we go deeper into the tree, we use this syntax. So this is how we can do it. But there is another case. What if we just comment this out? Commenting out is like this. What if we added a script to the label D node? And now we do the func ready. As we did the last times, we easily can print the text property of label D by just writing text, because now the script is attached to the label D node, and therefore we can immediately access its properties by just typing them. We can check this. We have done this a lot of times in the last practices, and we get the letter D. This is how we have done it the last times. But what if we want to access the text property of label A, for example? So there is a way to climb the tree up, and this is done like this. You need the $sign again, then you need quotation marks, and you do something like this. And this looks really strange by now, I can guess, but it basically means please climb one layer up the tree. If we write this, we should be at label C now. We can check it by printing out the text property of this node. Let's see if it really is label C. And as we can see, it is the text property of label C is a capital C. This is what gets printed out. So we know now, okay, with this we climb up one layer. So we can repeat this and climb up one layer again. And then we are at label B. So let's print this out. Yes, indeed. Now we can access label B. And to access the text property of label A, we need to climb one layer up again. And now this is how we can access label A. So this is how we climb up the tree. This right here is how to climb down the tree with the $sign and the slash. And note that we do not need quotation marks for this. For this one, we need the quotation marks. Now we have one last case we have to discuss. Siblings. So nodes living next to each other without nesting. And they share a common parent node. So let's attach a script to label A, like this. And now let's try to access a property, the text property of the label Y. So we need a way to access properties of sibling nodes, because here's no nesting going on. Those are just living next to each other. How can we access it? We can't use the climb down method, because if we try to do this, we would tell Godot to look one step down, which would be here, and look for a label Y node. And we can try to print the text right now. And we get an error. Invalid access to property or key text on a base object of type null instance. And null meaning I have not found this node. There is no node here with the label, with the name label Y. Because if we look at here, indeed, it is called label B. So if we did this, if we change it to label B, everything is fine again. We print out the label B node and we print out the other ones too. Let's comment them out and focus on only the sibling, the label A. Let's check. And yes, we get label B. So how can we access label Y then? We need to climb up, and this is how it's done. We need to climb up to the common parent they both share, and then from the parent we have to look down again. So we need to go up to the common parent, and then from the parent we need to go down one step. So this is how it is done. Let's check this out. $sign, and to climb up we need the quotation marks. This is how we climb up to the node, and we even can check this by printing out the name, for example. Print. Just by the way, every node has a name property, and it is this right here. We call it main now for now. And we see, yes, it is this main node right here. This is how we can go up to the main node. Now we are at the main node, and now we have to think, okay, from the perspective of the main node, we have to go one child layer down. So we need to go to label Y and print the text property. Let's print this, and we get the Y property, the text property of label Y. And this, my friends, my dear friends, are the three most important ways to access node properties from every other script whatsoever. So we need to get an understanding and a feeling for this. There are parent and child relationships going on. There is nesting going on. There are siblings. And yeah, that's basically it. And we can attach scripts to every node we want, basically, in our scene tree. This is the scene tree. And we can access every node from every other node. So very much flexibility. Later on, when we dive a little bit deeper into programming, there are patterns that are a little bit better and patterns that are a little bit worse. But for now, just practice the syntax of those three possible cases. Climbing down the tree, climbing up the tree, and accessing siblings, nodes that live next to each other, by climbing to the common parent and then down to the sibling we want to access. Yeah, as a fun little notice, we could of course access the text property of this label A node where we are at, like this. So it's the same but different, like this. So you won't do this This is not necessary, but it is possible because. So let's dive right into the exercise. For the exercise, we are basically doing the same stuff. You're going to prepare yourself a scene with a node of type node as the root node. You can rename it to main if you want. And then you are going to add labels to this scene. And you are going to nest them. I'm going to copy up a few of them. And now to nest them, we drag them into each other like this. And you do basically whatever you want. Just make sure that you have some siblings like this. You can even have a sibling right here. So that you have parents, children, and sibling nodes. This is important. You can do it like this, for example. And if you have managed to do this, you give every label node a text like this: A, B, C, D, E, and F, for example. For this practice, it's not really necessary to have something visual going on because you can check it from within the property editor, inspector, I mean. You can name the labels corresponding to what their text message is: label A, label B, label C, label D, so that you have some kind of overview over what's going on, and you can check it later on in the code. Label F. And now you start, as I did, to add scripts to basically to every node. You go through this and add a script to every node you can see. Like this. And now you are going to access every node from every other node. And you use the ready function. And you start by printing out, or you do your string. Now let's start with the label A, for example. Label A is a children node, so we need to climb down the tree like this, label A. And you are going to print out the text properties. Then you need to save your scene, of course, and play the current scene by using this button right here. Run the current scene. Now we do not care what we see right here. We just care for the output. If it is A and we wanted to print the text property of label A, you're done perfectly fine. And now you repeat. And now you print label F. After this, you go to the next script. And you are going to print out the text property of label F from label A. And then you are going to print out the text property of label A from the label F script. And so on and so on. You get the point. You go through all the scripts and access just all the nodes, all the text properties of all the other nodes. So sometimes you need to climb up, sometimes you need to climb down, sometimes you need to figure out the common parent, climb up to the common parent, climb down to the sibling. And yeah, this is what you are going to practice in this session. And this is much information, and I know it is maybe super weird, or I don't know, it may feel weird, but just focus on this task, on the challenge I gave you, and try to memorize it and try to do it as often as you can, so that you get a feeling for it and an understanding for this parent-child and sibling relationships. This is a core concept you need to understand to really be free and to be able to create with this game engine. So parent, child and sibling. Yeah, that's basically it. Do not rush it, and as always, repetition is key. To really practice this shit. You will get better, I swear. See ya in the next one.